Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with another unboxing video, and this is Roger Waters' Dark Side of the Moon Redux, the Super Deluxe Edition. But this is all about context, because this is the second time I've done this review, although I didn't release the first version, but afterwards I talked about it with some other people and ran a little bit of a kind of experiment in a way. There is something in here that gives this context. And the thing that's in this box, I feel, if it had been released separately at the time of the album first appearing, it would have given people a better way, a better doorway into this project. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to unbox it from the first time I saw it. I'm going to give you an honest overview of what I think of the contents. I'm going to give you an honest overview of who I think this box set is aimed for. Do I think it's value for money? And who I feel it would enjoy this set. I have added on an extra bit at the end of this review since I first filmed it, because I felt by doing that it gave context and gave a real kind of world example of what a part of this box set would have done, I feel, if it had been released separately. And that's at the end of the review. Anyway, let's have a look inside the box. So here we go, the Dark Side of the Moon Redux, Roger Waters, a super deluxe box set, the Dark Side of the Moon Redux and gold vinyl, 2LP, CD, Blu-ray, Dolby Atmos mix, plus Roger Waters track-by-track video interview, 4 10-inch vinyl records from the original album, cut at 45 RPM, for Money, Time, Speak to Me, Breathe, and Us and Them, each with artwork etched on the B-side. The Dark Side of the Moon live at the London Palladium on gold vinyl, CD, Blu-ray as well, and a 40-page commemorative book of photographs from the making of the album. You can see from here that this is a huge box. It's the kind of size that you would see for a band bringing together their entire career, if it's a CD box, or at least their entire, several vinyl albums. So I'm going to open this up now in front of you. So let's just break the seal on the side. It's exciting. This is the first time I've seen it, as you are as well. Obviously, by the time I get to the other end of this video, I will also have played it, although I have also reviewed the original studio album. That's the Roger Waters one I'm talking about, not the Pink Floyd version. So that's the cellophane off, and there's a cardboard container at the other end, as well, so I'll take that off, and that releases the box. So let's take the lid off and see what we have inside. It's a nice shiny box, you can see my reflection in it. That's the other side of the box. Let's move that out of the way. Right, this is a certificate of authenticity. You can see here this box is limited to 3,000 copies, and mine is number 587. So the first thing in the box is the original studio album, which came out in 2023, literally just 2 years ago. So let's just take one of the records out, because I understand this is on different coloured vinyl than the one that I've had before. And there it is. It's on gold vinyl. That's the same kind of vinyl I've seen for Alan Parsons. It's a lovely colour, actually. I would have liked polylined sleeves for those, to be honest. And there's the other one on the other side. So the studio album is 3 sides with a unreleased kind of ambient track on side 4, if I remember rightly. Yes, there it is. It's just called side 4. So let's just move that out of the way. Next is the live album, which I reviewed for Record Store Day. So this is the same as that. The only difference is that this is also on gold vinyl. So those of you who missed out on the record store day version, which is on pink vinyl, it is also in this box. Next is a very glossy vinyl sized booklet. So let's have a look at this first, shall we? In fact, I'll just move this box out of the way so I can flatten it out a bit more so you can actually see it better. There you go. So this is good because this is seeing the musicians at work pulling this together. And there's Roger. All the musicians. Roger with his bass there as well. Taking a break. Thinking about it. Facial expression that I know some of the people who knew that this was coming probably giving as you watch this, but this isn't about that. This is about the music itself and about the composer, the artist behind this music originally. And this is a new visualization of how he feels now looking back through the lens of time as an older man looking back at his younger self. There are lots of these photographs. I've never seen any of this stuff before. And this is music, photographs rather, from the tour, which, as those of you who went to see it know, was very successful. Nice pink jacket, which is on the front of their live album. And then we're at the other side, so that is photography. And I see on the back cover here all the musicians, people that made up that show. Let's bring back the box into shot. What else do we have? We now have these 10-inch tracks. These are on black vinyl. That's quite a tight fit in the covers, but money. So there's the track on one side and an etching on the other. Will it be the same etching on all of them? Soon find out. Pictures on the front are slightly different. Could be the same, if you ask me. So that's number 2. But I'm going to show all of them so that you know I've not hidden anything away from this. Is Speak to Me and Breathe. Oh, they are slightly different. And then I've got one more to show you. And yeah, slightly different again. So that's the 4. That was Us and Them being the last one. Just try and put that back. And then at the bottom of the box, when they've slightly moved out because I've moved it, is the album. The original album is on disc 1. So these are just inside like so. And the second disc in this, which is in a little Japanese sleeve to protect it, is the Blu-ray. So this is a track-by-track video by Roger, also Dolby Atmos of the original album. So it says here it's in HD stereo and obviously track-by-track video, as I just mentioned. The next one is the live gig, and this is, it says here, this is the live album. I think that's just a single disc of that record. So it's a bit sturdier than your normal CD. And that is everything in this box. There's nothing actually on the back. It's just blank box as it is. So that's a look inside the Roger Waters Super Deluxe Edition for Dark Side of the Moon Redux. And now I'll tell you what I think. So that is a look inside the Roger Waters Dark Side of the Moon Redux Super Deluxe Edition. There are 3,000 of them out in the wild, or there will be, of which mine is number 587. Okay, this has been sent to me to review. It's a review copy. So what I'm going to do now is going to talk about who I think this is aimed at, what I think about it in terms to value for money, and would I have bought it myself if it wasn't a review copy. I'm going to be honest, completely. This is my third video I've done on this version of Dark Side of the Moon by Roger Waters. So first of all, who is this aimed at? If you're someone who is completely against the whole concept of Roger Waters revisiting Dark Side of the Moon, then this video is not for you. There's no point in you hanging around. I'm not going to say anything that's going to change your mind. There might be something as I go along that might make you go and, out of curiosity, listen to it if you haven't already, but it isn't going to make you buy this box. So I am primarily talking to people who already have an idea what the album is like and actually bought it, the previous version, because that has been out since 2023. So what is it that's going to make you want to go even further and spend £230 on a giant box? And as you've seen, it is a giant box to get this additional material. One of the things I want to say up front is that when I opened the box, I had not obviously at that point watched or listened to anything in it. Obviously, I know the album, but I hadn't looked at the Blu-ray. That didn't exist. That's new to this set. But I'm not here about to launch into the fact that you've got 5.1 mix of the studio version and a 5.1 mix, Dolby Atmos mix, etc., of the live concert either. It is actually of a fairly short segment, which is Roger Waters talking about the album track by track. Now, some of you may correct me now and say, Phil, this has been out before, but I didn't know anything about that. If that's the case, I don't know. But the key part of this that I thought was, I'm going to watch that first to listen to Roger Waters talking about the rationale behind this album, how he's approached it and what it means to him and why he's done it, really. Because my opinion is of Roger Waters, my eldest son is a massive fan. We went to see Roger Waters at the O2 in London. David Gilmour appeared on the wall for The Wall. Amused to Death is one of my favourite albums of all time. It is an absolute masterpiece, as of all the Floyd albums themselves. I am a huge fan. But I will admit that when news came out that he was redoing Dark Side of the Moon, obviously without Gilmour, why even do it? Has he run out of ideas? What's happening? Why would you do this, at this stage in your life? But when I watched the video, the Blu-ray that comes with this new set, I understood. I probably understood more than I had to when I reviewed the original vinyl album, which is coloured vinyl anyway, and the original CD version that came out in 2023. And my thoughts are, why didn't that video come out in its entirety in 2023 before the album did? Why didn't that just come out on its own? Because that has made such a dramatic effect on me personally, because I know I'm one of the few balanced voices out there in the internet land on YouTube who's talked about this in a kind of supportive, productive way because of what the music means to me, and I found nuggets of stuff that I really enjoyed within it. But I've equally, been dragged into this reluctantly in some places. Watching Roger Waters talk about it track by track, and I sat down, I'll be honest, because I'm going to talk about what I think about the box honestly as well. But I was thinking, there was a barrier between me and Roger, hearing what he's going to say. And that barrier came down quite quickly when he talked about, he literally went through the heartbeat, the beginning of life, of the track Breathe. And I say I'm a fan of the album, original album, to such a degree. I always thought lyrically it was incredible the way it talked about making the most of your life and seizing the moment and being in the present moment, and don't hang around thinking it's all about to start later on. It's happening now, and time and money and us and them and war and all of there's a feel to it. This is why Dark Side of the Moon is more than just it makes your stereo sound good. It always has been. And why it's not, to me, the songs are perfection, the production. Yes, David Gilmour, the whole of Pink Floyd make this. But of course, the collaborations are on there. But Roger Waters' vision was in the words. And what I couldn't understand was why there were extra poems and stuff floating over the top of stuff. I've mentioned this when I reviewed the live one, the Record Store Day release. I found that more difficult. But of course, and I'd said, hadn't I? Oh, Roger Waters is, he's looking back over 50 years. He's a 79-year-old man at the time of doing this, and he was 29 when he recorded it. And he's trying to, see how he feels then and now. And Roger Waters has been very outspoken on many things, and I know many people have put comments on this channel saying they just won't listen to it because of his stance on various conflicts in the world. I think at the end of the day, he just wants the killing to stop on any side. He's a humanitarian, he's an atheist. I'm a theist. We would not be the same. Would we get on in an interview? I think we would. I think my interview is probably the most balanced there is. But I think what came across was how he saw life, being born and finding himself here, and how he was thinking so deeply, and it made me follow the lyrics and the Great Gig in the Sky, where he's talking about life and death, and the fact that on the new album, it's not new, is it? 2023. When you look at the lyrics, this is, as you've seen, written in triangles. And he talks about the fact one of his friends was dying of cancer, and he kind of, this monologue, he talks about this death of a close friend. It's all interconnected to how he looks back at what he wrote then to what he's writing now, and how much death and loss, obviously, he's experienced, as we all have. And as he talks about this, it drew me in. And it made me wonder how many extra people would have been drawn into this project if they'd seen him talk about why he'd approached it and how he'd approached it and why all the changes were, and how he'd stripped it back to be purely about literally observational stuff, and how important this work is. And I think it would have been a lot of people, because it made sense then how he'd come back to it. He talks very warmly about Richard Wright, about how pleased he is he collaborated on Us and Them, and about, the whole band and David's guitar solos and why he's done what he's done and how he thought about the tracks and the lyrics. Straight after this, I went back to the original album, not to play it, not to cleanse my ears, but to read the lyrics, because hearing Roger Waters talking about, riding the biggest wave and race towards an early grave. He talks about that, about these self-help gurus and how they make you think you need to do something, not be yourself or not following your own dreams or whatever. He illustrates what he was thinking about lyrically on these things, taking away that moments that make up a dull day. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words here. There's so much I want to try and get out. The reason why I'm referring to the original album is because the lyrics there are not in this box set. And so that probably brings me into the box itself. And yet I will talk about who this box set is aimed at and who I think will buy it. and who will not buy it. So what could have been better? This is going to be, who's it for, isn't it? It's 2023 this came out. It's a super deluxe edition box set. We don't normally get massive box sets for things that are literally 24 months old. The 50th anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon saw a £250 box set come out. But that album is 50 years old. And there's a lot of stuff they could stick in there. The books and the singles and the etc. and remastering and all the rest of it and 5.1 mixes. This version of Dark Side of the Moon is only 2 years old. You could look at this and think it's a bit egotistical to think that your album has come out only 2 years ago. It's a remake of an album that people think can't be touched, and you're going to do a super deluxe edition version of it and try and almost push the other one out of the way, which is many people might see this. So what's in it that's going to draw people in? Well, there's a gold version of the vinyl album, but if you've already bought the album on vinyl, it already was on a coloured version. There's nothing extra on it, and you've already got that. This box set is not going to be bought by anybody who's not into this. It is not, nothing I say, as I said, is going to convince you otherwise. If you don't have anything that's in this box set, I don't believe you're going to buy it, because I don't see why you would. Because it's £230, and you could tentatively go and buy the CD on its own for literally £3.99, and you've got it. So you're out. So if you've already, so it's going to be, you're going to be buying it because you're already a fan. You already believe in what Roger Waters has done here. But this means you've probably already got the CD, which is in here. It could mean you've already got the double vinyl album, which is already in here. You might have missed out on the live record store day release. So there's that. But you might not be that interested in the vinyl anyway. And if you have got it, it's already in here. So what is in it that's going to make you buy it when you've already got those things? There's a book in there with some beautiful pictures, as you've seen, lovely photographs. So that is a tick. The fact that all the other things that make up the package is in there is okay. It's fine. I'm not going to criticize that. The 4 10-inch singles with one track and etching on the other side. I don't know whether that was Roger's idea or how that came about, but the tracks themselves are lifted from the studio version of the album. So why would you play those? The artwork is the same. I think there's only so much you can do with the picture of the reflection in the eye, and it's everywhere. I know it's branding, but it's over all the 4 singles. And these things feel as if we need to put something in. We need to put something in the box. Again, this is my personal opinion. But they're just, the tracks are already, studio tracks are on the double album or the CD with an etching on the other side. I don't understand the appeal of etchings on vinyl. So they're surplus to requirements to me. And then we have the CD of the live album from Record Store Day. So, of course, that's on CD. It's not available anywhere else, so it's unique to this box. And then we have the Blu-ray, which gives you the 5.1 mixes and Dolby Atmos. Okay, so some people don't have Dolby Atmos setups or Blu-ray. So that, again, takes you out of the equation. So it's getting narrower and narrower who this is going to be for. What happens if you went to the gig? The door opens. If you went to this gig, or any of the gigs where Roger Waters did his version of Dark Side of the Moon Redux, and you loved that, and you were there at the experience, then this box set is aimed at you. There are only 3,000 copies, and this is the perfect souvenir. I can see that. I do have Dolby Atmos and Blu-ray, and I've played the studio version in that setup and the live one. And it is like a lot of these things, because I'm a huge fan of surround sound, music. It's wonderful. But you know what? As I said before, what made the difference is that interview with Roger Waters. And what could have been done instead of these, which just add weight to the box to me, is that having the lyrics written out in a way that's easier to read apart from upside down triangles would have made a big difference. But equally, a transcription of Roger Waters' interview, and you can tell from the interview it's been edited, so there must have been more to it. But that could have been either a book that shape to fill in that part of the, or a different type of book. But the lyrics, the monologues written more clearly, a transcription from Roger Waters, again explaining the story to this version, how he approached it, the execution of it, and his personal feelings about each track and what they mean to him now and what they meant to him as a 29-year-old. I think that would have made it more special. If there could have been some rehearsal recordings. I know he's a perfectionist, our Rog, so he vetoed those, aren't he? But some rehearsal stuff, some more live stuff, some sound check stuff, some studio jams that were done while they were planning all of this, some other poetry that wasn't used, but it was written over the years in relation to this story about Darkside and what it means to Roger Waters. I think lyrically, it's an album that means more to me now than it ever has. As I'm an older guy, I think it's not just about the music, this. And watching Roger Waters talk about it has drawn me so much closer to this project, because I'm an older music guy and Roger's, older than me. And to see where he's thinking about life and his philosophy and stuff, it's brought new vision and insight to the songs. Some of it you could think, well, he could have said that into the making of Dark Side of the Moon as a separate documentary and sitting next to Dave Gilmour, whatever. But it is what it is. But people went to this. For all of you out there who think that this should never have happened, it happened, and the gigs were sold out, and it would have been good if the other thing would have made this some visual content of the band live. It's £230. Nothing was filmed. There must have been something that could have been put in there, the live video of the concert that would have also explained a lot, I feel. And because I feel that what this has given me, and it's all based in a way on this small interview, is all the extra words and everything, that these weren't the ramblings of a bitter old man, because I know that's how a lot of people see it, Rog, is that they are coming from a place of love in how he feels about things. It's a place of compassion and empathy. And that's how this made me feel. So what would have made me buy this if I hadn't been given a review copy? If I'd been to the concert, I'd have bought it, because I think that's who this is aimed at. There are 3,000 copies, and no doubt more than that many people went to see this perform live by Roger Waters and his band. And I think that's who this is aimed at. It is the perfect souvenir for anyone who experienced this in the flesh, literally. For casual observers, I don't think you're going to be troubled with it. There's so many other ways of experiencing it. The way to experience it, and this is why the people that went to the concerts will go for it probably, is that it's in 5.1, and now, no doubt, when it's performed live, that, the way that Roger Waters does any of his gigs is perfection, and it would have been reverberating around the arena, and you're going to experience that as you're there. If you close your eyes, you are there. So in that respect, the highlights are the Blu-ray, the Dolby Atmos and 5.1 mixes, and Roger Waters talking candidly about his approach and rationale behind why he covered this classic Pink Floyd album. That is what it's all about. Yes, the booklet's good. As I've said, I'm not very hot on the the 10-inch one-sided single thingies. But apart from that, that is my honest view of this album. And yes, it has made me appreciate the original more. And I went to it because it was easy to read the lyrics. So I think from a design perspective, it could have been better. For those of you who went to the gigs, I think this is going to appeal to you. For those of you who aren't into this at all, it isn't. But I would still recommend, if you haven't, and if you've actually watched me talk about this for this long, I would give it a listen and imagine if there's a way of watching some of that interview, then that will help. Just interrupting the very end of this video to say that the element of this box set where Roger Waters talks about the project track by track, I feel gives this context that wasn't there before. And a good example, and why I put this at the end, is that Dan Aston, who also writes for Now Spinning magazine, my oldest son, he didn't want to listen to this at all when it first came out. He was very dismissive, as were most people. And we listened to the live one, and again, nothing, no reaction. I showed him this set, no reaction. But when he watched the video of Roger Waters talking about the songs, the context of why he approached this project, what it means to him, how it's all come together, afterwards, Dan, without any kind of prompting from me, put the album straight on, listened to it in Dolby Atmos, and in the Dolby Atmos version on screen, you get the lyrics. And I still agree that, or feel that the lyrics booklet should have been in the set itself, but on screen, you can see the words, and straight after that, Dan played the live one. It's a much better mix in 5.1. But as Dan said, if he'd have seen that before, he would have understood why Roger Waters approached this again and why he wanted to make this as a project. And it has, and it does make that much of a difference. That is not the reason people aren't going to go out and buy this ginormous box set, because there's a video in there, Roger Waters explaining the tracks. But if that had been seen, I really feel that a lot of people would have felt differently about it. But I said, if you went to the gig, this has got your name on it. Anyway, back to the traditional end of my videos. So this is out now on Cooking Vinyl Records. The pressings are superb, but I advise you to go out and explore the album if you haven't, and you can pick up the CD on its own at a very, very, very reasonable price. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Please support Now Spinning magazine if you can, to help me make more of these videos. You can get discounts on merch, and also you'll get access to the private WhatsApp group and the private Facebook group, as well as invites to our twice monthly virtual pub meetups at the Now Spinning Arms. So take care, all of you. Keep spinning those discs, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.